You know, as I was making my slander scripture video on Ryuga, which, by the way, thank you all, as I'm pretty sure this is my fastest video to 100 views. As I was saying, I couldn't help but think about a character that I believe got unbelievably screwed by the plot of Beyblade. That being Hasuma Hikaru, the only female blader of the first season, besides Yui, that young girl in that town Busujima took over, who appeared in only that episode that she debuted in. Madoka, who's primarily a mechanic. Yeah, not a lot of girls in the series at all, especially in the first season of Metal Fight. Before I continue, this is a new series where I'll be discussing characters I believe didn't reach their full potential. Whether it be for plot reasons, annoying reasons, just plain bad writing, you get the gist. The series is called Character Rescue because it is based on a title of the reality TV show Bar Rescue, a show where John Taffer, a bar consultant, rescues failing bars. In that vein, I am rescuing characters by outlining the problems they have and how I would fix them. Do I think I do a better job of writing than the original showrunners? Well, I wouldn't be making this series if I didn't, now would I? The first subject of the series, as I stated earlier, is Hasuma Hikaru. Now, who is she? Introduced in episode 6 of Beyblade Metal Fight, Hikaru is a blader who wields the Bay Wind Aquaria 100HF/S. For those of you unfamiliar with Beyblade, the technical details of all that aren't too important. Her primary motivation when introduced is to become the best blader in the world, as that was a dream her mother had but was unable to grasp due to becoming hospitalized and bedridden. Hikaru is also very cold in the beginning, only wanting to fight strong bladers, similar to 5D's manga Yusei, but that was advice given to her by her mother to help encourage her after she got repeatedly bullied by other kids due to losing repeatedly in spinning top battles as a younger child. So, she fights to be stronger and stronger opponents in order to one day reach the point where she can call herself the best player in the world, fulfilling her mother's dream, while also reacting to the torment she received as a child. I will stop here for a second because I want to say something here. Hikaru has by far one of, if not the best, motivation in the entire show. A lot of the characters have their own motivations for why they want to be the best, but Hikaru's is one that a lot of viewers can get behind. She might not be going about it the right way, but trying to be the best for your sick mother is a surefire way for someone, including kids, to want to root for your success. Hell, it's also pretty rare to see the bladers having outline relationships with their parents like this, because even finding a parent in this series is like looking for a polar bear in Texas.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Continuing on, she comes into a town looking for Ginga after Benkei notifies her of his existence, but since Pegasus Man was dealing with a cold, Kenta took on his name and battled Hikaru himself. After losing, I counted 11 times, to Hikaru in a row, Kenta lost all his points, while the girl walked away unsatisfied because this Ginga guy was weaker than she thought. After a whole train arc with Benkei, Kenta is able to beat her with his new special move, Sagittario Flame Claw, completing his get back. Hikaru would then go on to later challenge Ginga, lose, and then her character arc would complete its advancement, allowing her to chill out a bit with her cold attitude and see Beyblade in a more fun way. Though she still maintains her main goal of wanting to become the best blader in the world. Alright, so far, we have a great foundation for a character, and we even had her go through an arc where she learned to be a better person, and seeing Beyblade in a more fun light. Though, with her still maintain her goal, you'd think she'd reach a point where she'd grow on the same tier as characters like Kiyoya and Ginga, right? Or hell, maybe Kenta at least, since those two kinda already had a pre-established rivalry. Unfortunately, this is where a lot of the positives end. We wouldn't really see her battle again until the Beyblade Battle Royale arc, where she actually put up a fight against Kiyoya before that battle got interrupted, and then she would become a U victim. Then, when Battle Bladers began, while she does her best to collect points, when the group meets up with each other for a very important tournament, she's dead last in points with 22,500 points, which, besides Madoka with a grand total of 0, that is the lowest amount in the friend group. She then suffers L's to Kiyoya in their rematch, Teru in his debut episode, and then Tsubasa. But despite all of this, she was able to qualify for Battle Bladers, earning the required 50,000 points off-screen, and her on-screen victories are against background characters. More on that later. This would be to her detriment, as she was the name selected from a hat in the writer's room to be the first Ryuga victim in the tournament, losing so badly she didn't even get to attack, and literally got her soul snatched by El Drago. Oh, and, you know, also this. Moving away from that brutality, what is Hikaru's fundamental problem so far? Despite having such a grandiose dream and having the foundation to be one of the best characters, not just bladers, characters in the entire series, Hikaru is not given any time to really shine, nor any opportunities to. Hell, outside of her victories against Kenta in the beginning, she doesn't have wins against named characters, only against background characters on screen. The best way I can put this is that despite her backstory and motivations, which are both arguably the best in a series that doesn't focus on those things most of the time, she is not rewarded for it. Instead, she gets pushed down. She's more of a Yamcha, which is a shame because I believe there is more potential for her than that. However, even with these early losses and that, there's still a chance she can rebound after all this. Unfortunately, I have some bad news. After her battle with Ryuga, she got PTSD from, well, you know, and became a secretary. She'd only use her Bei again one time at the end of Baku, otherwise known as Metal Masters, before going back to her secretary role for the rest of the show.
Oh no, it all went wrong!
Okay, so what went wrong with Hikaru? Well, quite a few things. First of all, as pointed out earlier, despite her grand dream, she was demoted to the role of Worf. Never given her own time to shine, as other characters used her as a stepping stone to show how strong they've become, while she made no tangible progress herself. To a certain extent, the Worf role doesn't work either, because it's way too predictable. We all know she's gonna get her ass kicked. The other characters are the Boston Celtics and Hikaru is the 76ers. If she had more wins once in a while, maybe it would work, but as I have already shown, Hikaru did not win a single time against named characters, only against pre-special move Kenta. She was only able to claim victories against literal who's after that. Then again, why does she have to be humble constantly? At least she's not Masamune screaming out being number one every 5 minutes! Now for the second problem. Her character isn't used enough. To be clear, in comparison to the original manga, she's actually a very active character. However, for someone who was part of the main group for as long as she wasn't exactly getting her hands dirty with them most of the time. Yes, she was there to cheer Ginga on during his second fight against Kyoya, but she was also MIA for some very important arcs despite being in the city at the time. She didn't go with Ginga and company to Dark Nebula base when you could have easily written her in there to go with the group, and she didn't come with the gang to look for Ginga after he went to Coma Village, even despite the fact that Pegasus Man made an impact on her. Not to mention, because she doesn't have as many interactions as you'd think with the main cast, when you see her with the main group at that final launch at the start of Battle Bladers, you're gonna sit there and be like, how the fuck did you get here? Who invited blood? Just like Tetsuya. But at the very least, Hikaru's not an asshole. It feels like the writers for some reason couldn't come up with a way to have her integrate with the group, so you just shove her in at the end when Battle Bladers starts. But the problem is that while she does have a history with some of the characters, Hikaru wasn't in the trenches with the group with all the Dark Nebula bullshit and Ginga's depression, so it comes across as forced. Hell, I don't even think she learned the true extent of the bullshit she was signed up for until Ryuga popped in the first match of Battle Bladers, because I don't remember Hikaru being informed about all this dark power nonsense. The final problem that I want to point out is, well, the PTSD stuff. While it is fine for characters to have mental demons they have to overcome, I don't think this series did it well here. It comes up in Melobaku once in the beginning where Hikaru remembers the Ryuga fight, which is why she became a secretary in the first place, and the time she gets literal terrors when he or anything related to him comes close, but unfortunately we're never really shown anything else. There isn't a moment where Hikaru is getting back in the game after waking up from her coma, but she can't even launch her Beyblade properly. None of that. She's smiling and ready to continue battling with Ginga at the end of Melfight's first season, and then season 2 begins, and then boom, secretary! Which is crazy, considering that they show Ginga being so depressed about losing to Ryuga that he loses to a literal who. Then, there's the other side of this PTSD stuff. Who replaced Hikaru? Obviously, if you're gonna sideline her, knowing this series, you're bound to introduce a new character to take her spot. And the guy who did that was Kadoya Masamune. Now, how similar are these two? Well, they both want to be the best blader in the world, their dreams are fueled by their terminally ill loved ones, even though in Masamune's case it's his best friend. Hell, they even have the same dashing mechanic on their base, except Masamune's is better because Coach Sharp is a better performance tip than what Hikaru's got for Aquario. I watched a video from a Beyblade channel where bro gave Hikaru's Bey an evolution, and you know what performance tip was given for the upgrade? Code Sharp! It's fucking madness, man! Now, I could also explain how while Hikaru and her mom do have an outline relationship, let alone an existence, it's not really expanded upon. But I think this video from Bizarre Interest Productions expands on this decently well, so check it out if you want to. To cut this short, while I think giving us more time for Hikaru's mother since we barely know anything about her as well, I want to outline these 3 points both because I think these are the more pressing issues and I don't want to edit another 30-minute video. You can't make me. You can't make me! Alright, so now that I have outlined these issues, how do we fix Hikaru? Surprisingly, the fixes are relatively simple, something the writers could have implemented in the original run of the show. While there are probably explanations for this, I'm gonna borrow a quote from John Taffer. I don't embrace excuses, I embrace solutions. Now then, let's do this. First fix, we have got to give Hikaru more significant wins. And to do that, we gotta figure out why she takes so many L's in the first place. The 2 reasons why are because 1, Hikaru's main mechanic is easy to figure out when you use your freaking ears, and the other one is the lack of other special moves. For those unaware, Hikaru's main performance sim mechanic, or bottom in the sub, is that she can change modes, from stamina to attack mode, with attack mode allowing the Bey to attack in dashes or basically a disappearing act. A pretty neat mechanic, but when you find out its trick, she can be very easy to counter. All you gotta do is listen for when her performance tip changes mode, which isn't too difficult as it makes a brief sound. I think it would have been really cool to see her mix this up a bit, like since she's aware people will listen for her sound, she catches them off guard when her Bey doesn't do his dash or disappearing act like that. And there are probably some other tricks you could implement, but this was one I thought was a pretty good idea. Then, there's the lack of special moves. She has only one, this stupid Infinity Wave. Now, this isn't a problem exclusive to her, as other characters are stuck with one whole special move for a large chunk of the entire show. But come on, if Tsubasa and Kyoya can pop out special moves like Philip Rivers' wife pops out kids, we can give Hikaru more than one special move. Aquario is literally the water bearer. Give it a rain shower, give it a whirlpool, hell, even give it a hurricane if you want to. My girl's like Squirt being like, spare moves, spare special moves, ma'am, which is nuts. Someone help her out. Throw in a power boost through hard train due to wanting to surpass Ginga, Kyoya, and also Kenta, and we have the makings of a pretty strong blader. The second thing that has to be fixed, obviously, is more character interactions between her and the main group. Again, as I stated earlier, it felt like Hikaru got roped into the main group without being put in the trenches, which is egregious because she was in the city at the time of the Dark Nebula raid and Coma Village nonsense. Hell, she even saw Doji fly down from his chopper! So obviously, to solidify her position in the group, you gotta make her a part of those arcs. In addition, I wouldn't mind a couple more interactions between her and the group. For example, I'm more surprised that both Hikaru and Genga didn't have a conversation about how, in a way, both their purposes are driven by their parents. Also, I'm probably going to be the one with an unpopular opinion here. I like the concept of Hikaru and Kyoya rivalry more than Lion Man's Glaze session with Benkei. And obviously, I'd also like to see more of a rivalry between her and Kenta, considering she was the one who pushed Kenta to get his special move. Well, that and Benkei's insane train plan. Now, how to fix the last problem, the PTSD problem? Well, there's two routes I could go. Have it not exist or make it an actual obstacle to overcome to make the character better. So, I'll present both paths. For the first, this will probably be mostly from the changes I have suggested, but remember when I said the story doesn't reward Hikaru for her ambitions? I'd probably give this new and improved Hikaru a second round loss to Kyoya in Battle Bladers, while Benkei draws Ryuga in the first round.
Hold up, wait a minute.
So, after doing some research, they actually did fight in the manga. I only learned this after recording this part, and when I read the fight, I kinda liked it a lot. Now, I'm annoyed now because despite having Hikaru take Benkei's place in this fight, they do her far more dirty than they did Benkei, who was kind of a Chad during this fight. And also, my impressions of Ryuga versus Benkei were a bit clouded because of how easily Ryuga swatted him away like a bug, but that can be chalked up to dark power bullshit. In a very different second season, she'd qualify for the World Championship, and I think it would be fitting for a character to achieve her dream on this stage, allowing her to become the #1 blader alongside Ginga and the rest of Gangan Galaxy. I'd say she replaced Masamune in this version, which might be better for everyone involved, considering Zio might be less of a headache if Masamune stayed in America. And maybe this might be too fanficky or whatever, and for all these changes and the power spike and whatever, but come on, who hates seeing dreams come true for characters who got done dirty in the original story? As for the second path, Hikaru would still get her ass kicked by Ryuga, though maybe she'd put up more of a fight if I implemented the same changes in Power Spike, but would still acquire PTSD. I show more for having trouble even launching her base, similar to how Ginga was after his loss to Ryuga, and then have a moment where instead of her volunteering for a secretary role off screen, show Ryusei giving her the job as a way to help get her mojo back. Over time, Hikaru longs to unretire and battle again, but the internal trauma she has prevents her from taking that step. Then, Masamune, who have arrived and stayed in Japan in this timeline, helps Hikaru get back in the game, stemming from a conversation with him about why Masamune is all about being #1, and then Masamune at the end would encourage Hikaru to get back in the game, which I think is something he would do because Masamune, for as obnoxious as he can be, he is not an asshole. This would eventually lead to her using her Bay again in Haze City, allowing her to take the necessary steps to announce "I'm back" like Michael Jordan by the end of the season. In both paths, she would be a legendary blader in Metal Fight 4D. I was very glad when Bizarre Interest shared my opinion on this, and I just think the concept of Hikaru as a legendary blader would be freaking sick as hell. And, I think I covered just about everything. Nice. That's about it for this video. Let me know what y'all thought. Leave a comment down below, subscribe if you like the content, and leave a like as well. All of those help me in the algorithm. And blah blah blah, typical YouTube outro. Thank you all for watching. Peace.